All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of insurance. I'm going to go do a train here. So if I do a train, I'm just going to move in this guy right like so. That kind of locks up. This is actually a 2 population area, so if I get that to active support, that's a total of 4. That's a little bit of insurance in case I lose some of these other areas out here. So I'm going to go ahead and train there. That's going to be 3 resources to do that. So I'll move that down to 25. I could do the special activity to transport. I'll maybe go ahead and move 1 troop down there. You can move a total of 3 to a spot. And then I can do some civic actions for 4 each. So I could get that up to 4 for 8. And so that would put me down, let's see, 5, 17. And I'd be at 17 and that would be at 4. Let's go ahead and do that. That just puts a little bit of extra pressure, kind of spreads the pressure around there. So that's going to go up by 4. That'll put me at 17 there as well. So I'm 2 away from victory in that regard. Basically a little bit of insurance, so in case I lose the support there, I still need the 3 cities, but now I've got some different, sort of forked prong approaches. A little bit of the slow game at this point. That's kind of the temptation of the government to go in and try to get that quick victory, but it's very obvious how to counteract that if you're the insurgents. So you got to kind of spread out a little bit. I've made that mistake more than once, to really go for the quick victory there. All right, next card. So again here, now the Syndicate might want to give up resources there, but they don't really need resources at all here. They don't really want to give the government resources at all. That's just going to be too much for them. Now, as a Syndicate, we can spend some of our hard-earned money. We're not going to get the number of casinos required, so we can be a little bit more free-willing with the resources, because we know we can have some time to recover that. So the best thing that you can do when you get rich as the casino is take the construct action. That's going to cost 5 resources per space. You can do this in any government or Syndicate controlled spot, and that basically builds a casino. And you can also use that to open a closed casino. So I could go ahead and sneak in here and do 1, 2, 3. And so that'll get me 3 casinos out here. So that's going to spend 15 resources down here, down to 12. And then I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3. So that's got 7 casinos. Now these are going to be closed, mind you. And so that's going to happen there. And now I basically just need to get 1 more out and then get them all open. I'll be at 8, which is my target number there. So I spent a lot of resources to get those out. And I'm going to go ahead and do my favorite action of profit. And I can get these with these guerrillas here. So I'm going to get some cash there and get this cash out here, which again, remember I could turn this into a casino right when I can, or I can use that for resources as well. So that is the Syndicate action there. They've gone with Ops plus Special. Would they have done that? Yes, they would have, because the event is not helpful for the DR player, so they can go ahead and let the DR help the 26, but they're not going to do that. So the DR is going to be wanting to do the limited op, but they may pass because the limited op isn't that great. I mean, why waste your action choice when you can pass, get a resource, and then maybe go next on the next card, and they would be going second on this card here. So they're basically, they can kind of slow game it. They got plenty of resources so they could jump in and do something. It's basically either now or later, or they can get a chance to look at a card, because either way they're going second. If they go second now or go second later. So I'm going to pass with them. We'll pass. He's going to get a resource. Next card. So next card is the Mafia Offensive. First up is going to be the 26. And what do we got here with events? So we have July 26 or DR executes a free limited op, treating 1 Syndicate piece as that faction's piece. That's interesting. So you could do like an attack or an assault with a green piece acting on your behalf. So the other thing is the Syndicate here will get a resurgent capability. Syndicate may assassinate as if DR, but regardless of police. Well, Syndicate's not even active because they took the action last round. So the 26, there's not really any spots on the board where the Syndicate can do something. Yes, there is actually. Let's take a look. So let's see that there. There's the Syndicate piece there in Havana. He's going to go ahead and do a terror action, and then this is going to stick a terror card here, marker on that spot, and then that's going to actually remove support. That's going to be a completely neutral city now, which is going to cause the support to go down by 6. So you can see there that the total support is there now at 11. So that was a cheap, nasty, dirty move to get the a syndicate to do the terror for you. And this works in cahoots with the yellow player because they now have the ability to do the option plus the special activity there. So what the yellow player is going to do, he's going to go ahead and take that. He's going to go ahead and rally in a few spots. So we'll go ahead and mark these spots here. We're going to do Oriente, Camagüey. We're going to do Las Villas. No, he cannot rally in Las Villas because that's active support. So he's going to go ahead and skip that. He's going to go to Matanzas there. And now, interesting. This is set up the DR player nicely because he actually can go into Havana now because it is no longer active support. He's going to go ahead and take these two off of here. He's going to stick a base. Will he? So here's the thing. If he sticks a base in there and he can get that in there and kind of protect it, then that will be nice. But because he doesn't have any guerrillas there protecting it, this base is going to be ripe for being attacked by the government. And that would be a nice move to kind of basically shock absorb some of the government resources to force them to have to deal with that base, because they are going to have to deal with that base. Because once you get that base in there, remember I was talking about your rally is your population plus your bases. Well, remember here, see that 6 up here, right there? I do a rally in there with that DR, he's going to be full of DR guerrillas. So that might be an interesting little ploy there to just, rattle that cage. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to spend that there. They're probably going to attack that and get rid of it, but that's going to keep them sort of on their heels a little bit. So that's going to be that action there. So I spent that. These two guys go back here. That's one resource. Now I have 1, 2, 3 more that I can do. So I can get one guerrilla there, one guerrilla there, and one guerrilla here. So I've got quite a few guys out there. Now, the nice thing about that is that I've now started to amass a lot of guerrillas out here with pretty much, unimpeded without having to get a base out. Now, because I got a base out here, this is actually going to temporarily increase my DR pop plus places. Because if you look at the DR population, which I should have actually marked an extra one for that. It's basically any spot you control, you look at the population. So there's 2, 3, and then 4 there. So he should be a total of 4. Because you get 1 for each base. This one here, I should also get that. So let's do a little bit of an audit there. I'm getting ahead of myself. So again, number of bases, I got 1. Number of population in areas of the DR control. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So add on another 4. This should put me at 5. So the DR pop plus bases is now at 5. Their target number is 10. So I'm halfway home. So again, like I said, the DR wants to get a lot of stuff out. And remember, you saw at the end of the propaganda phase, you get resources for each space that you're in. So you want to spread out, get a lot of stuff out. And this is nice because now I can control these and then easily take a rally action to get rid of these two and put a base out, which again will move that number up again, and I have guerrillas protecting it. So this is a nice little move here to get that in there, get the government having to take that away, because I can really just make the government's if we were playing with other players, the next 3 hours are miserable for him. And then I've also got another 2-pronged approach here as well. Okay, so next up on the eligibility is going to be Syndicate and Government. So Syndicate's up first. What do we got here? Syndicate resources -6. Obviously you won't take that. Mr. Sinatra won't be pleased. The shaded area, place an open casino in Havana regardless of stacking. Place 1 cash with police there. That's interesting. This might be an interesting way to sneak a casino into Havana. Let's take a look. So like we see what's happening here with the DR, he's made life basically hell for the government. Let's go ahead and take that event there. We're going to take and flip that. That's an open casino immediately according to the event text like there. Now it said you could break the stacking rules. So unfortunately there wasn't 2 already. We could even have a 3rd if at the time of the card you played that. So I did that. I can move this open casino up to 5 now. And so once at the end of this round, once we flip all those open, we'll be at 8. We'll be at our target. But I have to give a policeman the cash. I basically have to bribe them. Mr. Sinatra's in town. I need an escort for his limos and things. The police there now has a little bit of money that they can spend, so the government doesn't feel totally miserable. He hasn't flipped the table yet. The Syndicate's still helping him out. So there's the event there for the Syndicate. Also, because we took the event, that leaves the government there wide open to take the ops and special activity, which he's going to do because he's going to be last on the next card. I think the government's just going to keep it pretty simple. He's going to go in here, he's going to do an assault. He's going to assault this base off the map That's going to go here. That's going to reduce there. The DR pop base is back down there. That's going to cost him 3 resources to do that. So he's down here at 14. He's got rid of that. Now he can do a special ability here. You'd want to be looking to airstrike. You know, you'd get somebody back. You can do airstrikes here, basically removing 1 exposed guerrilla if it's in an EC, basically the economic center, or the provinces. Nobody's exposed except for that syndicate jerk up there, but he's in a city. You don't do airstrikes in cities. So the other possibilities is do reprisal, which is kind of like the government's own little terror action. It's kind of interesting thing. You can do that in an area where the government controls things, and you can actually relocate a guerrilla to an adjacent space. So what I can do here, I might as well just go ahead and do it. I'm going to put a terror marker here. If this was opposition, it would go to neutral. I control it. It's an active support. We're not going to do anything there. I can relocate this guy to an adjacent space. I'm not going to move him here to help his buddy. There's already a force of guys here. I'm just going to kick him out over there. So that's a way of kind of booting him out, getting rid of him from, you know, harassing me. Might as well do that. Okay, next card here, we can see the DR is going to be up first, followed by the 26th. Everybody else is ineligible. Here's our event. In a space already occupied by your pieces and those of an enemy, replace 2 of the enemy's guerrillas or cubes with your guerrillas or cubes. So let's take a look at what's out on the board here. And if we take a look, it's very unfortunate, and I wasn't even looking ahead to this. I think I definitely would have been, and would have still made the same move, because if I was the government, I would have kicked the yellow guerrilla out, because they could have taken, and in a spot where they currently have a piece, removed 2 of my, probably removed a police and a troop, and then put 2 more in there. So it would have been 3. I would have lost control because the total pieces of my pieces would have been, so I definitely would have done that there. So I can't do that there now as the DR, and I don't, everywhere that I have pieces, there's nobody else. So that really boned the DR there. So I'm probably, well, I won't be doing the event. I don't want to necessarily let the red player do the event. Maybe I will, because that will actually hurt the syndicate there. They're not anywhere that I am. So I'm going to go ahead and do my full-on special activities. I'll let the red guy there take care of, and he can actually steal that cash. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So let's do the full ops and activities for the DR. Yeah, let's just rally in a few spots here. So we'll go ahead and rally. Let's see, we'll rally here. We'll rally here, we'll rally in here because he still hasn't got back to active support. We'll just be a pest and rally here. We've got plenty of resources. We're at 9. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Where else do we want to go? We can't go anywhere there's active. So basically we have 1 extra spot, so we might as well just go ahead and spend it because we're going to subvert it right back. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will put us there at 4 resources. And so here we're going to put a guerrilla in. Here we'll put a guerrilla in because this is only passive support. Here we'll put a guerrilla in, getting ready for a base there. Here is where we're going to go ahead and make our base. We'll take these 2 off, get the base out, and I'll re-audit myself here in a second, and go in here and put a guerrilla out here. So now we have control here, 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 and here. No control there. All right, and then we're going to subvert. So we spent 5 resources, so we're going to subvert where we have control. So 1, 2, 3, so we'll get 3 resources back. 1, 2, 3, back to 7. Now let's re-audit our control here. So we've got 1, 2 for the population here, 3, 4, plus we have a base out, so we're back up to 5. All right, that's what I thought. So we're going to be back at 5, halfway home again. And then, as I said, the 26th player is going to take the event here, which again is replacing some of your enemy's pieces where your pieces where you have pieces. That's going to be here. So very simply, we are going to take here, we're going to take the guy with the cash. So we'll take him out. We're going to keep the cash. This guy's going to go back to his little supply there. We'll bring out a red gorilla. He now has a little bit of cash. We just robbed you. Ha ha ha. All right. So he could have taken the yellow guy, but obviously the green guy had cash. So he takes the event, and we'll reset eligibility back to the next card. Okay, so here's an interesting choice for the government. He's going to be first up on this card, followed by Syndicate, but he's also going to be first up on the next card. So let's see what we got here. This card, place 22nd base in Guerrilla in Pinar del Rio. Now, if I were paying attention, then that means the red player could have gone over there. You can see that spot on the far left with 2 casinos and have a gorilla there. Not a big deal. I'd rather go there and gonna get the money. I'm also closer to Havana there, so I can maybe move in and do a terror action there. Again, I wasn't paying attention, but just kind of talking through what might have been going through my head. So anyway, the red versus blue. Blue, here's Shift Pinar Del Rey, 2 levels toward active support. It's already in active support. That's the same spot we were just looking at. So he's obviously not going to do the event. He doesn't care about the event. He might want to do actions with special abilities, but he can do that next turn anyway because he's going first. What's his event? Until propaganda, airstrike removes 2 pieces and is allowed even embargoed. Well, embargoed, if we just take a quick peek up here, if you're on that bottom spot there, you can see you're embargoed. It means you can't do airstrikes at all, which can be a little bit of a pain. So I may go ahead and pass with the government there and just let him try to get at that event there and also kind of see what's coming up next. So government passes. When the government passes, he gets 3 resources because everything costs him more, basically. So that gives the green player, who's going last on the next card, free reign. He's going to do faction op with a special activity. Well, he's currently at 12 resources. I could do some construction. I could do some guerrilla action. I've got just enough bases out. If I do a construction, that'll put me at 7, which is still a fair amount of resources. But my cash got stolen. That's sad. I had to give cash to the police. Also sad. Don't have a whole ton of protection. I don't have any guerrillas and stuff in that area there. I can get some guerrillas out. I've got a few guerrillas I can put out. Let's get some guerrillas out. So I've got 4 guerrillas to put out. I can put 1 there, maybe 1 here, 1 here, and then here. 1 with every casino. So there's all 4 out there. That's going to cost us 4. It's going to put us at 8. We can take our special activity, get this cash out. I can go ahead and just stick this cash with this guy. I think maybe it's kind of too many eggs in one basket. And let's just do it. There's nobody with him, so we'll go ahead and have him take the cash. So as we said, the government is up here. He's got the momentum as well. And I was thinking of this as an insurgent capability, meaning it would last kind of forever. But this is actually a momentum. And so this is only till the end of the next propaganda. So I don't think I would have chosen differently. Maybe because I would have kind of wanted to see the next card. But knowing that, I don't know if I'll take the event because we've had, let's see how many cards we've had since the last propaganda. So there's been that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a chance that since this one came up early, you know, there's 4 there. So it's feasible. I would say probability propaganda comes up in the next 5 to 10 cards here. So we've got, you know, I don't know how often we would get to use that. Nobody's really doing a lot of activities and doing any terrors on any of my spots in the ECs, the provinces yet, and that's where you can do the airstrikes. So I'm going to go ahead and pass on the event. Looking at the next thing, there's not a lot I can do here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the full-on ops with activity this time. But now with 3 extra resources. So following me is red. And let's see what the event was for him. 26 may kidnap in Sierra Maestra as if a city. Well, big whoop. He already controls that. So he can take that as an insurgent capability. So he could go and try to kidnap people. So I will just kind of stay out of that. He probably wouldn't even take the event. I mean, he would just know that I would leave it alone. Kind of like, I know that you will and you know that I will kind of thing. So he's going to go ahead and do some stuff here. See, now it's interesting. I could do a train. And I could do a train for 3 resources, like let's say down here, not really do anything with anybody, but then since I took a train, I could actually civic action this back up. But again, I don't have a ton of resources here. So I need to figure out a way to get some resources. I could even just pass and kind of react here. I mean, I've got this spot up here. I can do a sweep, and a sweep is an action that you take to reveal these guys. So you kind of have to do a sweep and then an assault. But usually by the time you've done a sweep, then they had a chance to react, go back underground, maybe. But it's nice to do a sweep where you have active support, because then at least the DR cannot do a rally. And it's about $3 per sweep. I also don't like the look of the syndicates happening, because now they've got 8 casinos out. They're not all open. He's got some cash out there. He gave me some cash. But everything is kind of turning against me, and the 26 is just being an overall prick. So I'm not too worried about him at this point. So what I can do here is I can just kind of do a sweep. So a sweep, and then we'll do a sweep here. So these are the two things you basically mark at the target area, and then I could have guys come from anywhere. So that's going to cost me 6 resources there. Puts me at 11. That means, and then once you move, you take a look at the number of cubes and you activate that many of the different guerrillas there. However, this is a forest, so it costs me 2 cubes to activate those. So I probably would need to do this and that. That's kind of a commit on those troops there. But I could do a transport to refill the gap here. I don't want to kind of leave that open too much there without any troops to get it back. The other thing I could do is probably do an airstrike. I didn't think about that. So I could have the airstrike there, removing 2 pieces, but that's such a protracted thing. I would have had to take the event, then move out and do it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to learn to start taking this event. So I can do an airstrike, or I can move some troops around. I'm not gonna move. I'm just gonna do an airstrike and probably do. I don't know. I don't think it really matters. I'm gonna do this one. Just airstrike that guy out of there. Now red could do a limited op, or he could try to see what yellow's gonna do. He's just gonna go ahead and pass. And then now yellow is also going to just pass because he's first on the next card. So they're each going to get a resource. They're going to reset. Next card. So yellow is first on 2 cards. So here we go. This is all 26 rallies flip guerrilla underground even if placing. That's cool. So sometimes you can place new guerrillas out, or you can get certain guerrillas that are out and put them face down instead. So this one actually will do both, which is cool, but first up is yellow, not red. And this one, flip all DR guerrillas underground, place 1 DR guerrilla in a city. Oh, okay, so that actually helps the yellow player. Place all underground. Yes, they just got revealed. I am not paying attention to the next card. The government probably would have seen that and maybe not taken that. I'm gonna place a DR guerrilla in a city. Yeah, I don't think he expected both to pass. Well, whatever. I screwed that up, I think, strategically. It's not a big deal. But let's see. What's the next card? So the DR can get +5 DR or +5. So you can get a bunch of resources on this card here. And the other one is select the space without government control. Place a DR base there and set it to neutral. That could be good. I may take that one. Because this one doesn't really help me. So maybe the government really got, alright, so he's going to pass. The DR is going to pass, so he's going to get a resource out of that. And then maybe the 26 will go ahead and just do this one and say, hey, go ahead and flip all your things underground and put a DR in a city. I don't think he'll do that. I think he may take that one. He's kind of playing the slow game here, the 26. He's got 15 resources. Let's take a look at the board. So we can take this capability to keep our guys underground and really kind of terrorize. And that really, combine this one with the insurgent capability we already have, that's really going for that kind of 4th phase, go in and tear the hell out of these cities and really swing everybody toward Castro's evil behind, you know? I mean, that really kind of fits the scope and the history of the thing. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take that insurgent capability because I know that's going to be deadly, deadly, deadly. So we're going to take here our guerrilla life marker there. We're going to go ahead and take that one. So he's going to go ahead and take the event, which leaves green up to do ops plus special activity. Now he could also do that here on the next card, which he could basically do it. Well, he may not. Well, let's see. The yellow player is probably going to do this event. So he kind of knows that. So he could kind of discuss with the yellow player. This would be an interesting discussion point here. Let's talk a little bit about this negotiation here, because, well, I might be overthinking this because all I'm really doing is negotiating for a resource. Basically, I'm saying, hey, yellow guy, if you take this event, even though I think you really will take it anyway because it's probably in your best interest, you know, will you make sure you take the event? Maybe I'll give you a resource or a cash marker. All I'm getting to really do is kind of look at the next card, because maybe then I end up passing on this card to go first on the next card. So I don't think they're really going to do any trading. I was going to say, oh, maybe the Syndicate guy will give him some cash, which will, you know, give him 6 resources if he promises to take the event, which is good for him anyway. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to pass because he's pretty sure that yellow is going to take the event. So he's going to get the resource. These will reset here. Red goes over here. This will go to the next one here. And as we already talked about, the event here for the DR, select a space without government control, place a DR base there, set it to neutral. So we go ahead and do this here. We take this base, we take and put it here. These will probably get wiped out if he does an assault because these are open. We'll go ahead and put that there. We'll set this to neutral, which also kind of hinders Castro a little bit because Castro's a jerk. And so we're going to do that. And so if we set that there, we put the base there. We got a new base, so we're going to go up 1 there. So there we are. We're a little bit closer, sneaking up there. So we've done that. He's done the event. And then the next card here, nobody's in play really. So green is going to go ahead and do their op plus special activity. Now green's had a chance to peek at this card. He will not be probably operating on that card. So he could probably do... all the cash has been used up. He could do a construct. He's at 9 resources. We could get another base or casino out, and then maybe take a special activity. And the special activity could be, let's see, we've been doing profit. We could jerk around with the government. We can do a muscle, which is basically moving some troops and things into a spot where we have an open casino, but I don't know that we'd really do that anywhere. I mean, we'd get them in here, but there's a possibility that the government would end up controlling that spot and skimming from our casinos and possibly even stealing the cash, which is rare. I don't know that I've seen the government ever take cash from the Syndicate player unwillingly. The Syndicate usually has to give it to him as part of an event, like you saw there. Oh, you can do a bribe here. Bribe is very interesting. That'll cost us 3 resources. I feel like I want to do it just to kind of show you. That's going to put us down some resources. We're currently at this spot here. We could do a march, a construct, a terror. There's no reason to terror the government. They're not doing that great. We could do a terror here against the opposition, but that's not really required. Let's see here. Here we go. I'm gonna do a bribe. We're gonna get revenge here on Castro from thieving from us. So we're gonna do a construct. Go ahead and put this sucker out here. That's going to cost us 5 resources to do that. We're going to go down to 4. We're going to spend 3 more resources to bribe. It's going to put us at 1. We're doing a little bit of risky thing. Now when you bribe, you play 3 resources. You remove 2 pieces. So you can remove or flip 2 guerrillas or remove 1 enemy base. There's no enemy bases here. The only spot where we could really do it would maybe be to do like remove this or a government base. You can pick any spot you want, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. Remove these jerks here. They're going to go off there. And then I'm going to go ahead and steal that cash back like so. So we've kind of bribed the government in there to go ahead and, hey, you know, these guys robbed us. They came and robbed our game, and now we're gonna get a little bit of revenge on them there. So that's a decent move. Put us down to 1 resource, but hey, you know, the Mafia plays with fire. And I think with that, I'm going to kind of call it good. So you got a sense of the kind of the opening sense of the game in the first few rounds. I went ahead and just peeked at these. The next prop card here is coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. The 7th card. So after 6 more of these, we would have had the second prop card. Scoring round, you can go back and look at how I did the other round. So we've got some interesting things going on. I'll talk a little bit strategically what's going on. Obviously, the Syndicate just took a big risk. They've set themselves up in a good spot though. They've got 9 resources out here. They've got 3 cash, which is 18 bucks. So they're going to be at least here at the 19 to 20 range, plus some extra cash from the different casinos in there. So they're going to be in a position going into maybe the next prop card or probably the one after that to be in a spot to win, because they're not going to get that many resources back until we resolve the second prop card, and then they're going to be in better shape and be a target, frankly. But so is the yellow team here, because they are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 spots away. They can do a quick rally here to get another base in. That'll put them 1 up, and you know, they're fighting the government here in the middle, so they can also pester the government here. So there's going to be a little bit of a war, I would predict, happening back and forth between the DR here and the government, which are probably right now kind of in second place, you know, kind of vying for the second most opportunity to win. And then you have the DR, or the 26 here, up at 15 resources, which is quite a bit for this guy. He's kind of slow boating it. He's a little bit away there, but once he flips, let's say he were to flip Havana here, he could get 12 to his opposition base. That would put him up to 20 there, if he was able to do that. So he can swing the game very quickly, and I know there are cards in here that we have not hit that can be very swingy. There's a couple of cards in there that will basically flip something to active support or active opposition. You really got to be cognizant of those, you know, coming up. Now they could be in the ones we shuffled off, but you kind of have to keep those in mind. And there's like one or two on each side of that where, you know, you can really kind of, it helps you recover, it kind of brings you back in the game, or you can really, you know, hammer somebody down if you're not always kind of having those cards in the back of your mind. So like I said, right now the 26 is kind of playing the slow game, which is what he really should do without getting totally wiped off the map. Thankfully for him, kind of historical, the yellow team is kind of going in here, causing a lot of trouble, you know, doing a lot of the footwork and the grunt work for Castro, who's going to come in and take credit. So I think I tend to play it that way solo. It doesn't always work out that way when I play with other folks, but I don't know what it is. I think maybe the game kind of gears me towards playing it that way, and I am kind of keeping in mind, you know, kind of off camera, some of the flowchart things, just to kind of, you know, give me something to do without getting bogged down in sort of the AP of, oh, what would this guy be thinking, you know, if he didn't know what the other guy was thinking. So there's that. And let's just kind of go back to my talking head there, and I'll kind of wrap up. Okay, I hope if anybody watched most or all of that, you were able to kind of bear through it. You know, again, if you have any feedback about how I was doing it, I tried not to move the camera around as much as I did last time. It was about 2.5 hours to play through about half a game, give or take. It was slowed down. I had to, you know, step outside, catch my breath, take a drink, you know, quiet the bird and all that kind of stuff, so there wasn't too much distraction doing, you know, the moves. And I kind of, you know, would pause the camera while I kind of thought about the moves a little bit there. So definitely not a real-time thing, but hopefully, because some of these decisions are pretty tough, especially when you're trying to play all the sides. You know, it's kind of like, well, if there's a negotiation that's going to happen, you know, even when you're playing with other players, the negotiation itself maybe will eat up a little bit of time. And the negotiation here, like I've said before in several other videos, it doesn't really bog the game down because you kind of onesie-twosie it. It's not like a protracted negotiation. It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones in that way, where you have a little bit of negotiation, and then, you know, you kind of just give your orders and do your thing. Game of Thrones is the board game. So I think you get a little bit of a sense here. I kind of talked a little bit about it in we'll call it my wrap-up in homage to Mr. Enrico. But the last little bit of footage I did with the pieces here on the board and looking at them, I kind of talked a little bit about, you know, each strategy that each side might be having going forward. And I think that's pretty much been indicative of all my plays, even with, you know, other players. I did kind of say, you know, that it seems like in my solo plays, it's always like the yellow team kind of gets ahead, and then, you know, the red team comes back for revenge. And the red team doesn't always win, but that seems to be how it plays out. Now, these games tend to go down to the wire, I've seen, where basically you're going to that fourth prop card. I don't see early victories. I have seen a first prop card government victory once, and I'm going to guess I played it 12 times or so. So it's possible, but it just keeps the game interesting from the beginning. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just like, okay, here's a little bit of, like, you know, opportunity for the government to squeeze in. Do they do that? Now, here's the other flip side of that. As I've seen the government kind of overcommit, and I did talk about this in the walkthrough of, they kind of go after those easy targets, which are easy just to get bounced back from, and I've seen them overspend to get that easy victory. And I think it's because I was the one that overspent. But, you know, I was like, oh, this is a ripe opportunity. Oh, whoops, crap, now I'm broke and I have to kind of fight back. So there is a little bit of temptation there for that. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of got the sense of it from the playthrough. I'm not sure how much else to talk about here. I mean, I will just kind of do a little bit of a review portion. I really enjoy this game. It's very easy to play. It's probably not as layered as Andean Abyss or A Distant Plain, but it is easier to get into, easier and quicker to take your actions because you don't have as many areas that you're going to be dealing with. The island is kind of divided in half. You kind of have the center section of that mountain area that you can see the DR and the government were fighting over, because that's a juicy 2 population area that you can flip to 4 support or opposition. And nobody's really in there. Now you have in the south, you have the Castro's folks there, so there's a little bit of skirmishing happening there. And then in the north and kind of in the central, the DRs will attack. So not very many areas, and each of the different regions is kind of divided up, so you have kind of these, again, focalized points where these different skirmishes are going to happen in different areas you need to keep in mind. And that's one thing that you need to know probably as a new player, is not to get too bogged down into one particular spot. But again, there's not a lot of spots on the board, so it's pretty easy to keep your eyes on the big picture, I would say. And that's one of the reasons this makes it a little bit more accessible in terms of getting into the strategy of it. There's not a lot of insurgent capabilities compared to the other ones. It seems like there's less, not a whole lot less. I like the idea of the cash and the way the Mafia works. I really like how that works. That feels very thematic to me, where you've got cash you can spend, you can negotiate with that, you can turn that into casinos, you can get a ton of resources that way, like we saw the robbery happen and things like that. So that adds a different sort of flavor to it. I'm a big fan of the Godfather movies, Godfather 2, and some of those other kind of classic Mafia movies. So that adds a different element to the game for me, above and beyond just the kind of the insurgency, the counterinsurgency, and the kind of the war game idea. Is you have this sort of criminal element, trying to exploit it to their advantage and kind of trying to hang in there and keep the government stable, above and beyond these communists and socialists coming in to wreck all the fun for them. So that's an interesting, and in a way, kind of a more down-to-earth look at what's happening in the country, because there's a real business-minded approach. I mean, granted, it's a criminal element, and they were murderers, but in a sense, it's kind of like, yes, you have these ideologies fighting each other, and Batista's, I don't know much about it, but I assume he was corrupt. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, but he was probably corrupt as hell. But so there's that. But instead of just the 2 ideologies fighting back and forth, you have these guys that are like, they're kind of in it for themselves. And in a sense, it's kind of a distorted view of the common man in this case, where it's like, hey, we just want to come in and make money, we want to sell gambling, we want to have, whatever other criminal enterprises they have, and they want to try to just basically survive. Like I said, granted, they're criminals, but that's an interesting element to add on top of just, it's communism versus capitalism, or it's, monarchies versus communism. It's like, okay, boring, you're both trying to get power and maintain it, really, at the end of the day. So don't give me this junk about like, oh, you're doing me a big favor because you're a capitalist or a communist. You're not doing me any favors. Anyway, so there's that aspect of it, which, yes, there are ideologies that I think are better than others. We won't discuss that here, this is the game. But at the end of the day, it does get kind of overdone, and like these different behemoths of forces against each other, fascism versus capitalism. Obviously fascism is stupid, but I like that sort of different element that arises out of the game, the different motivation that's going to happen. Okay, so I think I've talked enough. Cuba Libre, hopefully this goes up good. Haven't edited anything yet, I just got done shooting it. So again, any feedback is good. This is a long one, so if I disappointed you by not playing the whole thing, I apologize, but I don't know. I think it's kind of better left hanging to let you sort of maybe imagine what happens, and I want you to play the game more than anything, other than watching me play. So hopefully this gives you enough of a sense what can happen in a game. Your game is going to play totally different because the cards are going to come out in a totally different order. But this gives you some sense of sort of the possibilities of what history may unfold here. Okay, thanks.